Hello and welcome to our very first webcast ever. My name is Helen Karim and I'm going to be hosting today this webcast. And who else we have here? Timo, you can start.
Yes, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're watching this live webcast. And my name is Timo Välimäki and I'm an area sales manager here in Finland. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Nice to have you here.
Welcome.
What about we had some changes here?
Yes, we surely do some problems like we noticed. Unfortunately, Mr. Hughes couldn't get here because of the disease. That's why we got another sales guy here with us. Thank you for coming, Samuli.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Samuli Vornanen. I'm area sales manager for Australia and New Zealand and also for Ireland. So that's my responsible area.
I don't think.
Hello everyone, my name is Antti Nikkanen. I'm the managing director of Trombia Technologies. Trombia Technologies is basically a street cleaning equipment manufacturer and an innovator, and I think that's the main aspects that we are going to bring in the talk today.
We are grateful that you being here, Antti.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Nice to have you all here, and today we are talking about the latest trends of street cleaning, and you can also ask any questions if you have. We go through of them at the end of the show. But let's get down to business. What are we exactly going to talk today?
I think from, of course, being here at the DYNASET office, it's good to mention that Trombia Technologies with our sweeper attachment brand Snowek, we've already back in 2013 started to research street cleaning technologies, dust control in particular, which we have then further elaborated in the research and development on dust removal, what is effective dust removal, and then mechanical cleaning of streets. So I think those are the cleaning technology aspects, and then of course street cleaning is a lot more. It's all about the efficiency of the operations and how do we minimize the wasted hours and times and so on. So I think that's going to be the talk today.
I agree.
Sounds interesting. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Discuss about the street cleaning with DYNASET Technology and overall.
What about the street cleaning? What exactly it means and what does it contain?
If I start from our point of view, it includes that operational side, drivers, work, what type of equipment and vehicles you use. From a more scientific perspective, it includes dust removal. It involves mechanical removal of debris, litter, festival waste, wine bottles. That's all in part of the street cleaning. But then going further, you need to control dust while you are doing it because of the health concern that air quality or poor air quality actually is in fact in the world.
And I suppose there is a lot of different places that includes
multiple environments, complexity in the environments, of course. That's how we see it.
Yeah,
I think there is also environmental aspect for the dust suppression or dust cleaning removal, because nowadays more and more environmental things are coming. Governments has different laws coming, new laws coming, especially in Australia and Europe. I think those are the two main places that all the governments are thinking more and more how is this kind of things dust is affecting the environment. So it's important to be on track with those things.
Yes, and like Antti told, and name safe cleaning with different kind of working methods, whatever the target is. Streets, parking lots, factory yards, etc., etc. Main point is to get as clean as is possibly efficiently.
Yeah, and you're talking a lot about the terms dust removal and dust control. What is the difference between of those two?
I can start with how we see it when we talk about these things, because this is every sweeper cleaning equipment that we manufacture. We look at things of and probably even starting from the most traditional form of mechanical cleaning, which is basically you need to remove. Here in Scandinavia, we remove the spring. Every spring we remove the sand, gritting sand that we've been using throughout the winter. In some other parts of the world, the mechanical removal is needed for industrial plants, industrial locations, or other reasons. Spring cleaning is very common also in North America, even though they don't have the sand. That's the mechanical removal. Then, if we think of what's every citizen thinks when they see the mechanical removal process is probably the dust cloud. So dust control is controlling the dust during the cleaning process. That's how we feel it, and that's how we interpret it. And then what is probably the latest and the most kind of tricky and advanced part of this clean process is the dust removal, because mechanical removal, you remove the sand, but all the dust that remains on the surface is going to be the one that causes the air quality problems that we have every year in Scandinavia, especially in the springtime. In the rest of the world, depending on the environment and the location. So I think that's a little bit how we use those terms in our business.
What about in DYNASET?
Well, it depends. Is it a grit or is it a dust?
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, the street cleaning can mean working with sweeper by using DYNASET suppression, and that's called dust control. Or it can mean street washing by using DYNASET KPL unit after the street is swept, and this is called dust removal. And DYNASET making cooperation in both ways. With Trombia, this is dust controlling, but also dust removing by manufacturing OEM KPL units to different companies like Bobcat or Avant, for example. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most kind of advanced step where what the research has also found, especially the Scandinavian street dust research, that you can bring in any of those €500,000 sweeper vehicles in there, but then in the end of the day you will need a pressure wash at some point to really get rid of that finest particles. And those fine particles, PM, we talk about particle size of 2.5 micrometers or PM 2.5, PM 10. Those are the ones that go into the breathing. Those are the ones that are linked with unfortunate health issues around the world, as asthma. There are, if it's correct, if the data at the moment still, but I think we've had at least back in the time, a couple of years back, when we've studied the exact figures, it was around 4 million premature deaths around the world caused by PM 2.5, PM 10 related dust particles in the air. So that's more than alcohol abuse in the deaths in the world. So the air quality is a real thing, and it's not only Scandinavian spring. It's dust everywhere, whether it's the Australian mining industry, or whether it's asphalt paving industry in North America, or whether it's Scandinavian spring cleaning. The same problem exists everywhere, and if you don't get rid of those dust particles, that's the problem.
Antti, I heard that you made some kind of research. Do you have any results on that?
So obviously we've done, like I mentioned, we started with DYNASET working with the dust suppression. So now we're talking about controlling the dust with those mechanical removal sweepers. We ran with the Metropolitan University of Applied Sciences in 2013 comparison tests with different mechanical sweeper attachments that our business manufactures with the same technology that is commonly available in the market, also from other brands. But what we did was really to look at different dust control methods, including the option of not using dust control. And what we found was that the high pressure dust suppression technology, which I'm sure the DYNASET guys here can tell you in detail what it actually means, but high pressure dust suppression technology decreased the visible dust by 82% compared to no dust control at all, Or even more dramatic, I would say, is the high pressure. It's quite obvious. If you don't use dust control, you'll decrease the dust by adding excellent dust control there. But even more, when we compared it to the traditional water sprinkling method, which is the common water system, what we see, we know that, for example, in North America, we have the current requirements are only expecting water sprinkling at the moment. It basically means that you just throw water on the surface and tie the dust there. But the fact was that we found that 52% less visible dust during the sweeping operation used with the high pressure dust suppression compared to the traditional watering systems. So that was probably the biggest highlight. And we know that since that, it has basically become a mandatory by most of the municipalities here in Finland, expanding rapidly at the moment in Scandinavia. So it's in sweeper attachment. That was quite a breakthrough study actually back at the time.
And DYNASET and Snowek both can be represented as an expert in this field. Why is that? You have a long cooperation together, like in this research also.
I'd say the dust control wise, we've done a lot of research together, development together on the products. It's still the combination of the DYNASET and the Snowek sweepers. That's still the only researched dust control sweeper in the world that is actually scientifically measured to be delivering those results. So, of course, I think that's one of the reasons that you could here at seeing at the DYNASET office.
What
you
about
could call
the
us.
DYNASET point of view?
Well, honestly, my role here today, I trade a lot with the end customers, and overall, DYNASET has 35 years experience about its street cleaning and dust controlling. So, in every way. But what do you think, Antti? What do you say about there are different kind of additives also used with dust controlling? Am I right?
You mean the chemicals?
Yeah.
You mean the chemicals?
I mean those additives which is based on the way to less the surface tension in water. Design it.
So what's my take on those? And we run obviously in our business quite a lot of from very this type of we are in quite a traditional but environmental conscious market. So our end customers are typically they are looking at clean, no additives. That's the basic starting point that everyone is looking for. And when it comes to something like using water only, it seems to be our way forward when it comes to dust control. I think that's if I answer at all what you are trying to kind of get out of me now in this.
Quite, yeah.
So I'd say that's been our approach.
Actually, I mean some additives to add to the water.
You mean the equipment or
design and additives to water to break the surface tension.
Oh, that's something that I would not be the expert to answer on. We, like I said, we don't work on that much. So.
Okay.
So the only would be the winter freezing temperatures where the customers are using different.
I just wanted to hear, is it common elsewhere? But
not when it comes to dust control. Probably in our equipment, I would say.
Okay.
That's probably something that it would be the salt or antifreeze type of liquids that they would want to use for dust control purposes. But that's probably not the way that we would go when it's high pressure water. So.
Yeah, a good way.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the next. Why is street cleaning so important if we think overall?
Well,
Samuli,
I think I think Antti has told quite well that the main reasons that are making the street cleaning important, those healthy reasons in cities, and also street cleaning and same for dust suppression, because if you don't clean streets, that will definitely make dust to the air. So keeping the clean streets clean makes that dust less less dust to the air. So I think that's the main reason. And also it's, well, if you walk in the city and the streets are clean, it's more nice. It makes you more happy, basically. Besides of seeing those streets dirty everywhere and leaves and rocks and sands, whatever.
Yes, and if you think about the street cleaning, was it sweeper or KPL unit, especially on a KPL unit, there are different kind of machine operators. You know, some of them swear in the name of high water consumption and lower pressure. And well, DYNASET products based on a higher water pressure and moderated consumption. And same method is used with dust removing and dust controlling also. You know, with the dust controlling, the ideal situation is to get fine mist curtain around the working area. And the main point is that the area itself not intended to be wetted.
Yeah. And I just want to add on the dust in the air and the dust and environmental reason. That's of course one. There is another thing that is very often in Europe, actually in European discussion, it's forgotten, which is much more studied, let's say, in the North America about this is that the catch basins, the stormwater pollution, which kind of combats in probably because in Europe we don't see the traditional rain will come and clean the streets type of thinking. We don't really have that here anymore. So that's something that.
What if it wouldn't come?
Yeah, but that's the thing that North America market in many ways they still have a lot of that discussion. So over there, the research is therefore directed to, and I think it's University of Florida and the Florida Stormwater Pollution Association last year published their stormwater pollution study, where they basically for over 10 years they measured what is the most cost-effective way to keep catch basins, stormwaters cleaner from these pollutants that we talk about, PM 2.5, PM 10, chemicals, pollutants, all that dust. Because then again, you can't just flush the streets either. So that's another part of the story, is that you need to minimize the amount of dust particles before you flush the streets, before you clean the streets effectively. Otherwise, you'll end up causing stormwater pollution. So air quality, water quality, both things, environmental, big concerns.
But I think we are talking there efficiency. What does efficiency means in this field?
I need to add one thing. If we still think about the KPL units, with the dust removing lower water consumption, of course, needed to be carefully sweeping. But big benefit for the lower water consumption is that the waste area itself is easier to control. You know,
Absolutely.
In addition, of course, fill-ups won't come that often, but you think you got a lot of water, it's difficult to handle. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Regarding your question about the efficiency, I think somehow it comes always to the point that whatever of these parts of the process it is, whether it's the actual sand cleaning and getting the leader of getting those dust particles removed rather than pressure washing the street directly, all of these parts of the process should be done faster, more efficiently, more effectively, more accurately, and that basically leads to the end result that we want from an environmental or air quality perspective. So
Samuli, do you have something to add to this?
Well, yes. Time is money, as they say. So depending how effectively we can do this street cleaning or dust suppression, whichever, we will save money. Because if we only have do this once, and it's after that we get the clean enough results, that will save definitely much time and money. Besides, if we need to do it twice or 3 times, perhaps. So efficiency in that way is important.
Yeah.
And that's where we see here in Scandinavia, we see these spring cleaning fleets of, you have 6, 7 heavy equipment going one after another there.
Yeah.
Typically the first one is just there to water the street so that the cleaning would be as inefficient as possible.
Yes, yeah.
So that's the starting point. And then you come with, a lot of considering the energy crisis right now. I don't know anymore whether that's cost efficient anymore, how we do it these days.
There are regional differences.
Yeah.
In Finland, cleaning has been French since 1990s.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one thing that you see these, because it's so complex process, mechanical, the dust removal, the head pressure wash, and then you'll end up having these fleets. And when it comes to the efficiency, is it any more efficient?
Yeah.
Is it the right way to do it? Are we using the technologies, the most modern technologies? Easy steps to find, simple equipment changes can lead directly to significant cost effectiveness. So that is, but habits change slow. I think that's anyway the case.
And like we have heard, washable area and object effects to this work. How?
Well, I think it plays a lot of role in the speed.
Regional differences and
Differences, and whether it's a parking lot or whether it's a highway where you go a long distance and far away from for example, the water point, which is a big factor when it comes to high pressure dust suppression or other technologies that minimize the use of water. You minimize the time you spend on those water trips.
And seasons
as well. Yeah.
Yes, and like told, because of winter, we need to be spread a lot, especially to sidewalks, and elsewhere use for example, chemicals.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's got different problems for environment. And like that. But in springtime, here in Finland, street washing season typically lasts from few weeks to month. It depends on the year. But of course, there might be some moments during of the year when you need to clean some places. But the season is quite short.
Yeah.
The heaviest moment is very short in northern hemisphere, but then again, when it comes to the dust removing, the air quality improving, cleaning, that's typically something that cities and municipalities they run those bus routes. They run around the year, everywhere in the Europe, everywhere in North America. It's a continuous work. So that's kind of, spring cleanup is one thing. Then you got what we call a maintenance sweeping. Basically, you take care of the overall environment, the amount of PM particles on the streets and so on.
Yeah.
And then you have probably the autumn, which is then another thing. It's some mixture of leaves and early slush and whatever you have, and it's a lot of different aspects in the seasons.
And you already mentioned about these health reasons, but why anyone should pay attention to dust-free cleaning or dust removal? Is there anything else?
Yeah, instead, if you think about the different ways, is it regulation or what it is? Instead of, in my opinion, the most important thing is health aspects.
Yeah.
Of course. Of course, visibility is important. But when we think about the springtime, when most people got allergic problems and in addition of street dust, so very difficult to breathe air.
Yeah.
And some of the particles are hazardous. And may also pose for cancer.
Yeah.
In North American silica dust is well known, and Antti can tell a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we talk in Scandinavia, we have the spring cleaning. We think a lot about the street dust, but then the whole North American market has been, since the OSHA regulations changed a couple of years back. They've been talking about the silica dust. So anything that that links to the industrial work, which creates these same size of particles, but silica related chemicals basically. And that is a real carcinogen. That's a real cancer related a topic. And I think, well, the early stage, you have to start somewhere. The early stage regulation is that no sweepers allowed in pavement sites without water sprinklers. That's the starting point. Okay, well, but that's where we were here in Scandinavia 20 years ago. You had to start using watering back then. Now we are in that point where you need to use more advanced technologies so that you actually are also efficient. And frankly, for Scandinavia, the only way to tackle this spring cleaning is you need to get out of the streets earlier. You need to be faster. There's no other way of tackling that dust problem that we have here every spring. You have to be faster equipment, more accurate cleaning directly and earlier in the spring, which is also one thing where the DYNASET development has been helping us, for example, to provide equipment.
About the numbers, like you mentioned before, people fast because of dust.
Yeah, absolutely. It's enormous. Dust is one of the biggest health concerns of the global world at the moment.
That's big.
And the problem with that really fine dust is that if you use not that high pressure water mist, it doesn't face those small particles. But thanks to DYNASET or any other high pressure water pump manufacturer, we are able to produce really high pressure water up to 200 bars or even more higher pressure. And with right nozzles, we can make really fine water mist that faces those more small particles and drops them down. And with lower pressure water, you cannot do this same thing.
Yes, like I already told. Really fine mist curtain over the area. It's important. Not a thing, but lower pressure isn't possible at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about the better visibility during the work?
Absolutely important. I think the drivers are the ones who are. There are two things to that. The other ones are the passers-by. Because I think back in 2013 when we launched the sweepers with the high pressure dust suppression, I think we really faced that citizen feedback that, whoa, that's not dust cloud anymore. It's a water mist that we are seeing, which was kind of interesting because street dust is a topic every single spring here. It's a big headline topic here in Finland. So, and then you suddenly have some people who have never thought about sweeping equipment or cleaning equipment coming to you, and you are doing a demonstration in front of a customer, and the customer said, "That's not dust, that's water." And that's so I think they are the ones who really see the visual effect as well, not only the drivers, but the driver's life in this in cleaning operations. 8 hours. And no matter how modern those wheel loaders or tractors or sweeper trucks or cleaning trucks are, the filtration, that dust will be everywhere. And if he's driving in that dust cloud, that's horrible.
Once you go dust suppression, you never go back.
Once you go dust suppression, you never go back. That's 100%. That's 100%. Yeah.
And there we go to the next subject, which is what are the equipments today? Nowadays, options.
Well, obviously, we work especially on the sweeper side of business. Obviously, there is the cleaning equipment or the washing equipment are the ones that should come after the sweepers to finalize the work. But obviously, the sweeper options generally you have compact sweepers, which are the small nice ones which go around the marketplace and so on. Typically equipped with suction technologies. Then you got mechanical sweeping equipment, either sweeping trucks over there in North America or Australia, or mechanical sweeper attachments, which is something that we see here in Scandinavia everywhere, because that's the way Scandinavians work. We maximize the utilization of the fleet. You have the snowplow equipment in the winter, you'll use them for sweeping in the spring. That's what we do here. So you got this mechanical sweeper attachments, and then probably the third and a little bit of a kind of a new segment in this are the air-based technologies, which, well, back in North America, the regenerative air sweeping, which basically uses air in some form to remove dust particles also from the ground, is one new technology, or relatively old technology, but probably a little bit seen here in Europe only. And that's what we are also working on in the Trombia Technologies.
So some kind of vacuums.
So technically not using vacuum that much. It's more about using air, pressurized air on cleaning the surface. Okay. And of course, that can be only done if you don't wet the ground.
Yeah.
So that's a critical part of that. So you don't want to wet the ground if you want really the finest result. And that's something everyone can try at home. You take a cutting board and potato powder and throw water on it and start cleaning it. And then the other option is that you'll try to do it dry. So the dry is of course much easier. Now the question then comes, how do you control the dust when you do it dry? And that's the kind of the very advanced part of the technology development at the moment, which has led to this almost a trend, I would say, in sweeping equipment, sweeping manufacturers reinventing dust control technologies or waterless sweeping in many forms, whether it's suction, whether it's air, whether it's cyclonic, whether it's dust control, whether it's high pressure dust suppression inside the dirt containers and so on. So that's kind of probably the latest trend, and everyone kind of accepts the fact that removing dust should be done waterless. The problem is the dust control during that process.
What says DYNASET?
Well, Antti told very good about the sweeper, but I think I can say a little bit more about the KPL units. And well, those I have designed very simple to use, and nowadays we do have plenty of tips in users manuals how to wash streets, and there are too many people who won't read them, but should be.
Well, I think that the KPL unit is another good example of how the Scandinavia especially has started to think about efficient cleaning. You need to use the fleet that you already have. You mount an attachment to do the cleaning work instead of buying a full washer truck directly. But that's a one nice side of that, and especially on the smaller yards.
Yeah, and there is definitely place for the KPL units as a street cleaning, since those are doing the dust suppression while they are doing the cleaning job, since they are using the same high pressure water that is used for the dust suppression for the mechanic cleaning units. Yeah, but yeah, of course, the screening task is a bit different usually when used a KPL unit, but in some places those work really well where you can use mechanical cleaning. Yeah.
What kind of things makes equipment easy to use?
Well, I think maintenance, in the end of the day, it's the operators who will be using. So no matter how advanced technology they are using, it comes to questions like how often you need to go water fill, how often in sweeping, how often you need to dump. When you have a bucket full of sand, how frequently is that? And if you calculate the time spent on dumping, especially in spring cleanups here, that really, 500 liters difference in container makes a huge difference there. I think that's the thing. The other things that in the maintenance side, probably when it comes to, for example, the DYNASET products as well, it's critical is to how do you develop those nozzle lines, because that's the only real maintenance point in those equipment.
Yeah.
So whether the nozzles stay open, not how often you need. Well, let's accept the fact that all the nozzles will at some point be flogged in the world, no matter what. But the question is how well those are designed. How well is the pump designed?
Yes, and way of the easy to use. Plenty of tips in user manual as I told, but one of the best tip is the dimension from nozzle pipe to street, and water jets should cross each other about 20 to 30 millimeters before hitting ground, and washing angle should be 50 to 30 degrees from horizontal line to down wall. And driving speed, it depends about how large on dirt, but 4 to 6 kilometers per hour might be pretty good. That's the way I do it. Yeah.
And that's actually one thing that I think it's great that you point out, that how much you have these user tips and that, because that's what we see as well, that you might have customers with Snowek sweeper and a DYNASET high pressure dust suppression, everything properly installed, but then the customer for some reason wants to use the pump with the low pressure water, which leads all immediately to more maintenance requirements, because you don't do that optimized water mist at that point. So I think that's it's user training would be one big part of this, and that's of course critical.
Yeah, and of course that is one thing to consider when you are choosing the your machine, for example. But what else there is what you should consider at the purchasing moment?
From our point of view, street cleaning equipment, you need to consider cleaning accuracy first and foremost. You need to start from there.
Yeah.
How well and fast do you actually clean, and how accurately do you clean? So there is a huge difference between, even in our range, between the sweepers that we provide. That whether you get to that 98% of even the PM 2.5 dust removed, after which you can basically come with a KPL directly and flush it, or high pressure wash it. That's the optimal moment. That's the thing. Does it actually do the job? Does it do it fast?
Yeah.
Critical thing there is to look at what's the actual square meters you can cover in a certain amount of time. If you want to do things fast, you need to look at the square meters. Do you work with a small suction nozzle which is 40 centimeters wide and go around a loop? That takes ages.
Yeah.
Do you go with equipment that can go fast, get the job done fast? That's a main thing. Then comes the points that relate to the dust control, water consumption. Water tank capacity, of course, affects it, but it does increase your efficiency if you have watering system or dust control system that minimizes the use of water. That's a big plus, because then you will be saving money. When your driver goes to fill the water, he will also go always to get a coffee.
Yeah.
That you need to remember. He will also go to get a coffee at that point, and that will take time. So you need to consider this aspect. Water tank capacity, and then the container capacity is probably the third one, that you need to get decent size. If you work in spring cleaning in Scandinavia, you need to have big containers. You need to ignore anything that has small containers nowadays in cleanups.
Yeah.
I think those are main aspects that we do. We do then, of course, love to talk about, kilograms per sweeping width, which would tell you how robust that product is for use. But probably when it comes to dust removal, dust control, those are the main things efficient cleaning in our mind.
What about DYNASET?
Oh well, it's one tip that I forget to tell. It's the useful washing pistol, double lens washing pistol. It's a very useful equipment when you are washing bus stops or stairs, for example. With that, it's easy to drop the pressure and prevent water flashes. But if you, by my point of view, if we're choosing the machine, well, if you are thinking about the street washing units only, then the 150 liters per minute oil flow from the working hydraulics, it gives possibility to use every HPV pump model in the street washing units that we got. It's so simple. But if we are thinking every pump models, I claim that the HPV 220 pump is the most common model to the street washing, and that needs 70 liters per minute. So that's a very good start.
Yeah.
I think there is also a few other things to consider. You need to consider if it's really important to gather the crabs or sand from the ground. If you need to put them to the one place, or could you just wash them away from the street with our street washing unit, because DYNASET doesn't offer an option to gather that sand. But when we are washing streets in Finland or in Scandinavia, I think many times it's okay to just wash them around from the streetway, and it depends, of course. But well, there is places where you can do that. So if you don't need to gather that around, you can save some money, well, time, and that way money, when you doesn't need to go to the empty that the bucket or wherever you are gathering those around. Of course, you need to fill the water tank once again, but yeah, that's one thing. And also, is there some other task you need to do with that equipment, such as some other washing with washing lamps? In Finland, there's many bus stops in cities that needs to be washed when spring comes. So if you need to do that kind of things, you can do those with our KPL units.
Yeah, well, that's true to choose the machine that gives several opportunities to do various work and methods, but
and year round.
Only if we think a KPL unit, then we notable thing is you already mentioned that lifting capacity is large enough. That's important. And what about the KPL units? Then you should need to choose the wanted turning device system, but nothing more special. We will guide you to the best results.
Yeah. Just to contact you.
Just to contact us. Yeah.
But that's the pressure washer is actually, I completely kind of ignored the topic, because we have nowadays in Snowek sweepers, when we sell the Scandinavian spring cleaning season products, we typically tell to the customer who is starting to, they are already leaning towards, high pressure dust suppression they want. That's like typically nowadays in Scandinavia, in Snowek sweepers, over 50% of our sweepers are going with the high pressure dust suppression already. So we do have that demand there. But what we've started to really say is that, if you go that extra mile, you invest a little bit extra on the high pressure dust suppression, that's also the point that take the pressure washer, because that basically minimizes the use of extra man doing that yard cleaning. You can use the same guy can do pressure wash the bus stops, container yards, whatever way you go. So it's we call it as Snowek all inclusive. When the customer gets any of our sweeper attachment, they will get the high pressure dust suppression and they will get the pressure washer. And it's that's the kind of latest thing that we try to educate our customers to do.
There is always places that you can go, you cannot go with the sweeper.
Exactly.
Yeah, because there is also always some small tight places, and that's perfect place to use power washer.
That's understandable. Well, we have all questions here, but do we have questions from there? Let's see.
Actually, not in the chat box, sorry for the cough, but I had a couple of questions through our social media channels, and let's see how many we can cover here. But the first one is how often, let's say, a city center sidewalk should be cleaned from the dust? Is there any kind of advice?
Like told, the season is here in Finland, it is no spring, and season lasts from few weeks to one month, and it's the main season. But like I said, there might be moments during the year when you need to clean some places, of course.
Yeah, I would say that it depends a lot. Where are we? There is places that needs to be cleaned more often than basic streets here in Finland. I think once a year is quite okay, or twice a year. But I guess Antti has an opinion for this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's how it's now done. It's basically done in a springtime, once or twice, and that's perfectly the cleaning result at that point. And then the dust or debris might accumulate over the year, and then we probably try to clean it once more before the autumn, so that before the snow comes in. But actually, quite an interesting finding we ran in Helsinki city in Jätkäsaari last spring, a dust removal test where we took a concrete sample of dust that we picked up on the same evening after that whole spring cleaning fleet of city of Helsinki had gone through that street. So we went in with our Trombia sweeper technology, which is ultimately a waterless dust removal technology. We removed a pile of dust and sent it over to be measured. And 35% of that dust that we removed was already the so-called carcinogen related PM dusts, basically talking about silica dust directly. On the same evening after that whole street was pressure washed. And that is probably going to be the next wave of research in the street cleaning in general, because that's something that is not cost efficient with the current heavy sweeping equipment or heavy sweeper trucks to keep going all the time. But the fact what we found from the street would basically suggest that we should definitely do it if we want to keep the city air clean. So but that was 8 hours after pressure wash. So probably we need to look at this a little bit more in the details.
Yeah. And actually here in Finland, season is already coming. Well, it didn't seem like that when the weather is about.
I just spoke to the drivers. They don't think that way yet. It's snow still.
Pretty almost 1 meter of snow, but the season is mostly in spring, and it poses its own challenges with storing the street washing unit. When the daytime could be few degrees plus, and at the nighttime could be frost. So that's a big challenge also. And the thing is that people too often forget.
But that's one big advantage of in sweeping. I know that it's definitely not the time to go with the KPL washer right now. But when it comes to sweeping, but when it comes to sweeping, a big reason for this whole Scandinavian dust havoc we have every spring, big reason is that all of those equipment are waiting for the temperature to go down. And now we do have the high pressure dust suppression for sweeper collectors that you get a little bit earlier in the daytime. And Trombia Technologies, we also produce the Trombia sweepers, which are fully waterless on the street surface. You can go, I think it was a couple of years back, the city of Kuopio up north had their fleet going out 1 month before city of Helsinki, 500 kilometers down south from there. And that's a big factor, because that will make a big difference in this Scandinavian spring havoc, I would say.
Pretty funny to see in every spring when you go in the northern when the frost is getting higher and higher. So first it's Helsinki, then it's Tampere, it's Oulu.
That's how it goes. But then with the right technology, you can actually hit the streets 1 month earlier, and you go there and earlier, and that's a big thing. And but this is very Scandinavian topic, I would say. This is where we are the Sweden, Norway, Finland. We are the ones who use gritting sand more than salt almost, and we have to think about that part, and that's where it really plays a big role.
Do we have any more questions?
The chat window is quite quiet, but I have another question from the social media. Or actually, I have two, but the first one is quite easy to explain. Isn't the high pressure water dangerous to bystanders and such when you use these machines in cities and such?
Well, I don't see how it could be dangerous. Well, of course, high pressure. When we are talking about high pressures, you shouldn't aim those to the humans, but well.
Yeah, I think the high pressure word here is scaring someone in the audience. So
think about the danger
Yeah.
between silica dust and
that's
water.
That's true. But we can say
Which
for
one of you would drink?
yeah, exactly. So I think the word high pressure here kind of
Yeah.
sounds like a little bit now too, but that's definitely what it is.
Yeah,
It's definitely high pressure.
And
That's
of course,
clear.
But
But the amount
yeah.
of water and the water mist is basically not the same as what we are probably imagining in this setting this question.
Yes, and of course, you need to be careful with machines. Never go to the in front of the operator, but nothing.
Yeah. That's a big topic we didn't even cover today about the street cleaning equipment, but street sweepers, those big trucks that you see, where the cleaning is happening basically behind the drivers over there and back, and they have some mirrors and so on. Those equipment are actually a real challenge in the traffic every spring. They are slow. There's very bad visibility, and it's a human nature. If your cleaning happens there, you tend to lean a little bit. What did I do? Good job. While let's say a KPL unit or a Snowek or Trombia sweeper, you look forward.
Mostly focused on the night time when there is less traffic.
Of course.
I must say about the high pressure that the question was about. I think the high pressure, you need to understand that the high pressure is used especially in dust suppression and also in street cleaning. It's used to make the water droplets and the water to certain kind of small and effective for the cleaning and the dust suppression. So it's a nozzle that makes it safe to use.
And then there was some second question.
Okay, the last one is how much water does the a dust control system, like let's say a standard one, use in a basic rotary broom or such? Is there any kind of calculation or about something numerous about the consumption rates of these systems?
Water consumption. So I can of course only talk from Snowek's perspective because we have a certain set of nozzles, we have a certain pump in use, we have certain setup in use. But in our case, we sell sweepers with the standard watering sprinkler systems. Average water consumption on a 3-meter rotary broom is 10 liters per minute with regular watering system. 10 liters per minute. And then when you go to a high pressure dust suppression, you take it down to 3 to 5 liters per minute. So it is a dramatic decrease. But remember, the water tank remains the same. So with the same sweeper, you go 3 times or twice this distance compared to a traditional watering system. So that only justifies in our case why the demand is nowadays that more than 50% of our sweepers are sold with the high pressure dust suppression.
Yeah, there are like HPV 60 and HPV 250 are quite models for dust suppression, and well, is it 80 liters per minute or is it 30 liters per minute? And also, it is possible to optimize with VRPA flange lower water consumption.
So of course that's basically what we are doing when we mount this equipment into our sweepers, is that we optimize the dust control for that sweeper.
For the sweepers, the need for the water is much lower than in usual. Well, I couldn't say the usual, but DYNASET is offering a different kind of dust suppression. We sell a lot of our equipments for the demolition, and there they use bigger flows. So I think for the sweepers that 5 liters, 3 liters sounds perfectly makes sense. But it's all about nozzles and the high pressure, because the high pressure makes it more efficient. So you don't need that much water. And that's why 3 liters. That sounds so little.
Yeah.
3 liters per minute.
That's basically nothing.
Yeah, that probably works very well.
Of course, there are different kind of water jets.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
probably in the English, Ontokartio, for example,
Yeah.
or Jukka.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really the thing that and then that part of that study back in the time 2013 already for us. It's very critical to you have that environmental focus, but then you have the operator focus, which is really about how often do I need to go. And we can basically say that it's always, regardless of our sweeper, it's 3 times less water refills with the high pressure compared to a regular one. So it's always a kind of a quite a straightforward estimate.
True. Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for coming, and I want to thank you for watching. I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
All right.